So moving on, we are entering into the official inaugural ceremony of 80th National Conference of the Association of Surgeons of India. We welcome all of you to this official inaugural ceremony. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. We are about to begin the inaugural program of the 80th National Conference of the Association of Surgeons of India. We shall be starting today's program with prayer and lighting of lamp to invoke the blessings of Lord Almighty.
Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya sarvesham swastir bhavatu sarvesham shantir bhavatu सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम्.
On behalf of the Association of Surgeons of India, I welcome all of you, especially our chief guest for the evening, Justice G. Raghuram, Director, National Judicial Academy. I welcome national and international faculty. I welcome all the executive committee members of the ASI, dear delegates and the guests, to this inaugural ceremony of the 80th ASICON, which is for the first time is being held on the virtual platform. As Honorary Secretary of the Association, I would like to start the proceedings with presenting the annual report of the ASI, which I shall begin with the permission of the chair. At the very outset, I would like to put my sincere thanks to all the esteemed members of the association, the key office bearers, for having full faith and bestowing upon me with this responsibility to work as Honorary Secretary of the ASI. Friends, membership is the key strength of any organization. And today we proudly say that we are one of the largest, or rather we can say second largest organization of surgeons in the world, with total membership of 27,727 as on date. In the last year, 2,521 members have joined. And I hope when we meet next year, we will be crossing 30,000 mark. The ASI, in spite of the COVID pandemic, continued to perform their activities. I would like to name only few of them. Some of the administrative activities which were held was organization of the chapter and section meeting. Fortunately, this happened before the pandemic and we could meet our friends. The executive committee meeting was held virtually. The important decisions like approval of the new members, announcement of election notification, renewal of the contract, announcement of orations for the year 2021, announcement of the lifetime achievement, all these were approved, and a historical decision under the leadership of President Raghuram was taken to pay a balance of rupees 70 lakhs to the Tamil Nadu government for the lease rent of our headquarters. The Republic Day was celebrated at the ASI headquarters. The president hosted the flag. The academic activities, the multiple programs were held, but were held online. President will illustrate more in his speech about them. These are the winners of this year's ASI TISA. On behalf of the ASI, I congratulate them all. The ASICON 2020, as we are witnessing for the first time, is being conducted in the virtual platform. FAIS is our fellowship program. 28th convocation ceremony was successfully conducted yesterday evening with Dr. Lote Shering, Honorable Prime Minister of Bhutan, as the chief guest. 57 surgeons who have been conferred the fellowship this year, and 6 distinguished overseas surgeons were conferred honorary fellowship of the ASI. With Dr. Sandeep Kumar as chief editor, Indian Journal of Surgery has made all-round progress. The indexing, improving citation index, reducing response time to the authors, number of articles published each year, and improving income part as well. Journal is available online, free to all the members, and the print version is also available at a nominal fee of rupees 600 per annum. Coming to the philanthropic activities, again, a number of activities have been performed this year, looking to the need of this COVID pandemic. Again, President will put more highlight in his speech. Now I come to presentation of various awards of this year from the Association of Surgeons of India. To begin with, the most prestigious is our Colonel Pandalai Oration, which has been conferred on Dr. Sandeep Guleria from New Delhi. We all have heard him. Friends, 2 of our surgeons were honored by the government with Padma Award. We pay our respect to them. Dr. N.N. Khanna from Varanasi and Dr. Ravi Kannan from Silchar. The visiting professorship in General Surgery 2020 is conferred to Dr. R. Kannan from Chennai. We also identify and try to honor 2 of the fellows as the ASI Social Service Award for their social service activities. Dr. Jugal Kishore Chaudhary from Jharkhand and Dr. Tashi Motuk from Jammu and Kashmir have received this year's ASI Social Service Award. The Beated Young Surgeon Award of 2020 have been conferred to Dr. Sendhil Rajan from Bangalore. Now coming to the what I call public choice category, the ASI Best State Chapter Award of 2020 have been claimed by Uttar Pradesh. But friends, it is not only Uttar Pradesh. The 2 of the other chapters are just neck to neck, and it is a kind of a photo finish. I would not like to miss their names, and they are Delhi State Chapter and Maharashtra State Chapter. So we can call all of them a winner. The Best Section Award have been claimed by ACRSI, Association of Colon Rectal Surgeons of India, and the Best City Branch Award have been given to Surgical Society of Bangalore. I congratulate them all and thank you all for giving me this opportunity. Long live ASI. Thank you. Thank you very much. May I now request our Vice President, Dr. Abhay Dalvi, to kindly address us. Dr. Abhay Dalvi, please.
Thank you, Honorary Secretary. Chief guest for inauguration of the 80th Annual Conference of the Association of Surgeons of India, Honorable Justice Shri G. Raghuram, Mr. President, Dr. P. Raghuram, Honorary Secretary, Dr. Sanjay Jain, Honorary Treasurer, Dr. C.R.K. Prasad, all the members of the Executive Committee, life members, associate members, and all the registered delegates. I stand here today as your chosen Vice President for the year 2020 and incoming President for the year 2021. I have come through to this position having traveled through the grassroots of the membership. First, I was the Executive Committee member of the state, then went on to become the Treasurer and ultimately President of the State Chapter of Maharashtra in 2013. Through generous support from the Indian members of the association, I became a Governing Council member in 2012, now known as the Executive Committee, and I held the term for 2 full terms till 2018. Having been voted to the post of Vice President 2020 and President 2021, the Executive Committee, including me, were all excited to continue the National Skill Enhancement Program, the Torrent Young Surgeon Award, also known as the Regional Refresher Course, and the annual conference at Visakhapatnam. While NSEP courses were held on schedule, Corona struck the world, including India. Everything went on hold as per the guidelines issued by the relevant ministries of India. I have to congratulate Dr. P. Raghuram, the President, who created opportunity through adversity. Raghu, if I may permit it to address the President in that way, jumped into fire for the rescue of fellow citizens by generating funds through himself, the state chapter, and the association, and supplied PPEs and sanitizers across the country. The support of our membership in achieving this at a very short notice tells us the internal unity of this association for betterment of every patient and healthcare worker. In an association of people, ego is one's own enemy. Man in any position should not allow the ego to prevail. That is exactly what Dr. Raghu has done, and I wish to carry it forward. When you sit in a chair of impartiality like a judge, I commend Raghu's efforts to streamline further many of the activities of the Association of Surgeons of India. I pledge here to continue to adhere to the Constitution of the Association of Surgeons of India, and with the consensus of the Executive Committee and the general membership, continue to enhance the image of Association of Surgeons of India in my term as a president. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dalvi sir. And now we all are eager to hear from our President, Dr. Raghuram. May I invite him for the presidential address. Dr. Raghuram, please.
Thank you. The chief guest for this evening's inaugural function, Honorable Mr. Justice G. Raghuram, Director for the National Judicial Academy, the incoming President, dear friend, Dr. Abhay Dalvi, the immediate past President, dear friend, Professor Arvind Kumar, the live brand Chief Executive Officer of the Association, dear friend, Dr. Sanjay Jain, the Honorary Secretary, and dear friend, Dr. C.R.K. Prasad, the Honorary Treasurer, honorable members of the National Executive Committee, friends, chairmen, secretaries of the various state chapters, president and secretaries of sections, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It has well and truly been a God-given opportunity, a great honor, and an incredible privilege to serve the world's second largest association at the apex position, all thanks to you. Gratitude is the best attitude to have, and certainly the most beautiful thing in this world is to see your parents smiling and knowing that you're the reason behind the smile. I begin by invoking the blessings of my dear father, who left this world 25 days ago. He has and will continue to be my guiding force throughout my life. My year began much before Professor Arvind Kumar garlanded me in December as your Vice President in 2019. My mantra throughout these 2 years, 2019 and 2020, has been creative leadership and accountable governance. This editorial, published in the February issue of the Indian Journal of Surgery, I'm told has attracted the highest number of views for an editorial published thus far. I have left no stone unturned in ensuring this mantra is followed in letter and in spirit. My presidential year can easily be divided into 3 phases. The first phase between January and March, the second phase between March and June, and the third phase between June and December. I must confess here that the first phase did not begin in January. It actually began 6 months earlier, way back in 2019, somewhere in the month of June, when I started planning my presidential year. I realized, and I realize always, that our surgical trainees are the future of the association. At any given time, we have 15,000 surgical trainees in the system. And the surgical trainees have been the core of my academic initiatives that I have initiated during this year. Several courses were initiated for the first time in our association aimed at surgical trainees. And I take great pride in the fact that for a very first time, along the lines of the care of the critically ill patient course, which is run by the Royal College of Surgeons of England, we have conducted the ASI critical care courses, the ASI communication skills courses, the ASI basic laparoscopic skills courses, the ASI anastomosis skills courses, the ASI basic surgical skills courses, and I must place on record my deep appreciation to a very dear friend whom I have known for more than 2 decades, Professor Pavanendra Lal, who is not only the National Executive Committee member, but is also the director for the National Board of Examinations. He, along with other friends, and if I was to name one other person, another dear friend, Dr. MBV Prasad from Hyderabad, ensured that 15 courses were held across the country. And between January and March, various courses, these are images that you will see as I'm quickly forwarding throughout the months of January to March. And then in March, the pandemic struck the country as it struck the world. And I was thrown into the deep end, starting off with a video interaction with our Honorable Prime Minister. And I was bold. I highlighted the issues that concern the association. I made a few suggestions, not realizing that this video recording was going to go viral, which it did, not only amongst the medical fraternity in the country, but amongst the non-medical fraternity as well, not only in India, but all over the world, as I started getting messages throughout the night. And some of the comments and suggestions that I had made to the Prime Minister found place in his address to the nation on the same day. Equally, I was pleasantly surprised, and in fact, it gives me a lot of goosebumps when I wanted to launch a massive philanthropic exercise. And I could not do it myself. I needed all of you. I needed your support. And with your support, with all the chapters, all the sections contributing, we were able to raise a record amount of 1 crore 25 lakh rupees, part of which was also contributed to the PM Care Fund, but primarily this money was used in the months of April, May, and June, when there was an acute shortage of personal protection equipment. At that time, there were only 5 government-approved manufacturers. And I can still remember the sleepless nights that I have had trying to use all the influence I had, trying to use all the free time I had to remind him to plead the owner of this company and literally beg him to ensure that our provisions were given preference over large corporate hospital assignments where they were paying a lot of money, where we were not paying a lot of money. We were actually getting it on discount, and therefore we were put on the back burner. But using all the influence and with the grace of Lord Almighty, we were able to get these equipment, and not only the PPEs were given, it was actually hand delivered by our representatives. That is you, the state chapter chairman and secretaries, the presidents and secretaries of the sections. You have actually received these PPEs from the manufacturers direct, and you have ensured that these PPEs are delivered to the healthcare workers in the front line who need them the most. And that is something which we as an association can be very, very, very proud of, because I can say that no other association has contributed as much and as intensely as we have done. Not only that, with the help of another good friend from Delhi, Dr. Tarun Mittal, who is the Honorary Secretary of Delhi State Chapter, we were introduced to the Amway India. And through Amway India, we were able to distribute 12,000 hand sanitizers to 56 COVID designated hospitals across the country. And this, ladies and gentlemen, has been the greatest achievement for ASI this year, in addition to the online academic program. These are images of friends, colleagues from across the country who have actually ensured that this dream of ours to raise money and utilize this money towards a philanthropic initiative never ever undertaken in our 82 years history came to fruit. And I am deeply, deeply grateful to the membership, and in particular, once again, I don't mind repeating it, to the chairman and secretaries of the state chapters who were the backbone of this philanthropic exercise. Simultaneously, because in the months of May, June, there was a lot of confusion. What should you do when you leave home? What should you do when you go to work? What should you do at work? What should you do when you come back? There were so many doubts, and therefore a consensus was done. I mobilized people, and I must say my dearest friend, Dr. Som Shekhar from Bangalore, the president of the Association of Breast Surgeons of India, took a lead, and I must place on record my sincere gratitude and gratitude from the association for spearheading this. And within 20 days, we came up with an editorial with the help of our principal office bearers and himself and a few past presidents, namely Dr. Dilip Gode and Dr. Shiva Mishra. We were able to publish this document in the Indian Journal of Surgery, which I'm very, very proud of. Yes, this is something I will remember for a long time to come after I leave office, that I was able to successfully speak my mind boldly, fearlessly on issues that concern us, not only relating to the pandemic, but so many things unrelating to the pandemic, so much so that my children were surprised that I was able to engage in a conversation with the anchors, Some of the anchors wanted me to toe their line. Some of the anchors wanted me to speak in a certain way, but I refused and I spoke my mind in all the prime time channels throughout the months, from the month of March till very recently, till my father passed away. I was getting so many phone calls. Of course, during the month of November, I didn't take any calls. And so I was speaking effortlessly and boldly. And this is something I have learned, and I shall carry many memories with me. In addition, I'm very, very grateful to the UNICEF for calling upon me, and asking me to contribute public interest messages relating to the COVID pandemic. We are in the third phase. I'm just about, in a couple of days' time, this is Thursday, in a couple of days' time, 48 hours or a little bit more, I would be so happy to hand over the presidential medallion to my dear friend Abe Dalvi. So we are in this third phase, which began in June. We actually reinvented the normal. We actually worked very hard. When I say we, it starts with the chief architect of this academic programs, and that is none other than dear friend Dr. Santosh John Abraham. He has put in tremendous hard work, many sleepless nights, enormous hard work. I'm stressing on this so many times because no matter how much I'm going to say, it will not suffice the kind of hardships that he went through at personal sacrifice, particularly during the pandemic, focusing his energy on conducting the National Skills Enhancement Program, which began in June, and 10 such programs were held weekly. This was followed up with the, again, flagship regional refresher courses, which was a stupendous success. At any given point of time, ASI's Facebook page was activated. I played a big role in this because I tried to market the National Skills Enhancement Program and RRC on the online medium. And I'm so proud that every single day, at least 5,000 trainees were watching the regional refresher courses that were so ably conducted by Dr. Santosh John Abraham, so very ably assisted by our incoming president, Dr. Abe Dalvi. He was critical at places where it was required. He nurtured the program, he assisted the program, and he was there every single day along with Dr. Santosh John Abraham in conducting and making RRC a stupendous success. We are now in our ASICON, ladies and gentlemen. We are witnessing the virtual 3D platform here, and in the wonderful ambience of our own homes, comfort of our own homes, we have over 6,000 delegates, ladies and gentlemen, as many delegates as is required for an on-site conference or even more. And we have really done very well in organizing this conference. And the editorial just published summarizes what has been done throughout the year that was a year that I will remember for my lifetime. I would now like to mention a few names, with your permission. Professor Arvind Kumar, the immediate past president. When I got elected as the vice president, I must place on record, he gave me a free hand in totally revamping, bringing in a number of palpable changes to the electoral system. The first and foremost was the election period was reduced from 45 days to 30 days. Many emails, I'm sure there are still many emails and many mobile numbers that don't match, but I have used all my time between the months of January and April to ensure that as many people are registered, e-registered, so that they are eligible to vote. More than 2,000 members were e-registered during that time. And that is because of the free hand given to me by the then president, Professor Arvind Kumar. And then he gave me an assignment. He said, Raghu, I will look after national affairs. you look after international affairs. And therefore, I had the opportunity of visiting several countries as his representative, as the association's representative on international platforms. And the third point I'd like to say is, when we wanted to distribute the PPEs, I wanted a substantial amount of money to go to the PM Care Fund, because I was assured that this money is going to be utilized by the PM Care Fund for PPEs to be delivered to healthcare workers. He said, Raghu, you must ensure that this goes to our grassroots members. This is what he said. And I have no hesitation in saying that that has played a role, although I already had decided to do it, but I would like to place on record that he actually mentioned this. And here is the man who is going to take over the reins from me. I'm so proud. This is the man without whose help I dare say that the creative leadership, accountable governance would not find its name in the dictionary of this presidential year. It is because he stood rock solid behind all the decisions. Whatever decisions has been taken, whatever decisions have been revolutionary, whatever decisions have upset a few people, but for the good of the association, we have together ensured that these landmark decisions have been passed, and to which I am immensely grateful, because without him, I emphasize again here, without him, these decisions would not have translated to reality. Yeah, this is a man, although he has a bald head, he's a very intelligent man. And it is my good fortune to have him as the CEO of the association at a time when the association needed the best possible CEO. Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you for a fact, whether you agree with me, whether you don't agree with me, it doesn't bother me. But this is a fact, and facts are facts. I don't think there is any other person who could have led the association from the front, in the head office, so knowledgeable, so astute, so incredibly smart, and very, very, very diplomatic. Words come out with great difficulty from his mouth. Actually, he will think so many times before speaking. It's a great asset to have. Unfortunately, I don't have that. And all these are very good qualities. And these qualities of, thinking 100 times before speaking, actually, I have seen that in my father. So Sanjay, without you, I could not have steered the ship. It is because of you that I could steer the ship. And my dear friend from my own place, Hyderabad, the happy-go-lucky Prasad, whom I have known for a number of years, whom he calls me brother all the time. And he has treated me like a brother. And he has given me invaluable advice so many times, on so many occasions, on so many crucial issues. And above all, he has been our treasurer during the most difficult times, when 70 lakh rupees has been paid out, or whatever lease rent was due. As our secretary said, the secretary and treasurer ensured that this amount was given away. So we don't have any dues. And our incoming president, Dr. Abhay Dalvi, and the vice president for 2021, who will be president in 2022, share the same thoughts. Dr. Siddesh, again a dear friend who has been elected to the post of the vice president for 2022. And I'm sure that the association is in safe hands with Abhay Dalvi and Dr. Siddesh. Why did I leave him to the last? Because he is the icing on the cake. He is the chief architect of academic ASI, not just during 2020, not just during 2029, but several previous years. Without him, without Dr. Santosh John Abraham, whatever we may be boasting ourselves about philanthropy, whatever we may be boasting ourselves about hand sanitizers, PPEs, whatever we may say about land lease, but if academics are not in order for an association, everything else goes into oblivion. It does not make any sense. Why? Because our association stands for academics. If we are good in academics, if we are good in promoting academics, if we are good in training our trainees, then everyone will look up to us. Why did the Prime Minister of Bhutan agree to come? Is it just because I invited him? No. As I said, we have earned a name for ourselves. We have earned credibility. We have a high regard and impact amongst the medical fraternity, not just in our country. I can say for a fact that when I go abroad, I've been to several conferences abroad representing the association. I sit shoulder to shoulder with any other college president. No subservience. We are standing shoulder to shoulder with the president of the American College of Surgeons, whether it is the Royal Australasian College of Surgeons, whether it is anybody. We are equals. And how did that happen? It does not happen just like that. It's not magic. It has happened because of years of hard work. And the chief architect behind this, who has put his own time in the back burner, his own family in the back seat, he has all the time, 24/7, worked and worked and worked and worked tremendously hard and ensured that academics is delivered. Even during the pandemic, he reinvented the new normal and ensured that we do not lag behind. And in fact, this year, we have done as well or even better than previous years in academics. So to everyone on the National Executive Committee, every single person, it will take a long time to read out the names. I want to read out, but it will take a long time. With folded hands, I have to thank you. Why? Without you, as I said earlier, nothing would have happened. No decision could have been taken. If I had a National Executive Committee which would have said, oh, why this? Oh, why not that? Why not we rethink? Why not we form a committee? Then my hands would be constrained. You didn't do that. You gave me a free hand. And to this, and to your friendship, and to the fellowship that I've enjoyed over the last several years, not just few months, I'm very, very grateful to all of you. And I cannot forget the office staff headed by Gopi. You call him anytime, he's there. He has been a great sheet anchor, and that is the reason I said that I will take the responsibility for their comprehensive insurance, not only for them, but also for their families for 5 years until 2025. They deserve every bit of our support. They work for us, and they are really the base. Without them, nothing will happen. Although these names are not there, Mr. Jitender and Avinit Kumar, who manage the website, tremendous. I've really been communicating with you, and I couldn't have communicated with you without their support. Whether it is a Sunday, whether it's an evening, whether it's a night, they're always available. Not once, ladies and gentlemen, they have said, sir, can we do this tomorrow? If I tell them it is important, I don't normally disturb them, but if I say that it's important, it was done. And it doesn't happen in this day and age, ladies and gentlemen. In a work time of 9 to 5, it doesn't work. It has happened because of the goodwill that we earn, and we need to be extremely grateful to all of them. So with this, I end my presidential address, and I would like to place on record that we have had letters, good wishes from the Honorable Vice President of India and the Prime Minister of India. These letters are quite long, and therefore these letters, the PDF files, would be placed on our website very prominently on the home page for all of you to see. In addition to that, these good wishes from the highest echelons of the politics, from the government, head of the government, will also be sent by email to all of you. I now have a pleasant duty to introduce Honorable Mr. Justice Raghuram Garu, who is the Director for the National Judicial Academy. If I'm not mistaken, he's the longest ever serving Director for the National Judicial Academy, which speaks for itself. This is an academy that trains judges across the country, Supreme Court judges, High Court judges, and you can understand the kind of pressure that the academy is always in. And to serve for more than 6 years in that position as a director speaks tremendously of his abilities. A graduate of Andhra University in law from Usmania University, he was an advocate in 1979. He joined, and then he served as an advocate and was then appointed as an additional judge in the High Court and retired in 2013. He served as the president of CSTAT from 2013 for 3 years until 2016, when he became the director for the National Judicial Academy. On assuming charge as the National Director for the National Judicial Academy, Justice Raghuram introduced a number of improvements in the administration of the affairs of the Academy, and the Academy cannot flourish without effective research. So he pursued research and ensured that research was given importance in the Academy. Under his stewardship, efforts were made to deliver knowledge at the doorsteps of judges in different parts of the country by arranging and conducting regional conferences in different regions of the country under the caption Enhancing Excellence of Judicial Institutions. During his tenure, 29 such courses were held across the country. He liaised with the Ministry of External Affairs to conduct a number of memorandum of agreement with Supreme Courts of Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Egypt, and Fiji. Batches of judges from these countries regularly visit the National Judicial Academy for training, and you can understand the kind of profile that is associated with this. So apart from judges, he has liaised with the other government departments and central tribunals very effectively and utilized the infrastructure available with the Academy to conduct programs for officers of the Railways Claims Tribunal, Central Administrative Tribunal, presidents of Consumer Fora, Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, senior IRS officers beside law officers, and State Bank of India. Finally, I would like to say that I have known Justice Raghuram Garu for a number of years, for close to 10 years. And I must say he's a thorough gentleman. When he visits you, he just appears to be such a simpleton, such an unassuming person that you will not recognize that he's a judge. He would be sitting and he would come to you and he would talk to you. He is one of those people who is most approachable, unassuming, a very good-hearted soul, and a thorough gentleman. And I don't have any words except to fold my hands to express my gratitude to him for having very kindly consented to deliver the chief guest address at this 80th Congress of the Association of Surgeons of India. Thank you very much, Justice Raghuram Garu.
Can we invite our chief guest for his address?
I'm honored to have been invited to associate with the 80th Annual Conference of the Surgeons of India. I have the privilege of a warm and personal acquaintance for over a decade with Dr. P. Raghuram, the current president of the Association of the Surgeons of India. He's amongst the youngest of surgeons to hold this exalted leadership position of an association of highly skilled professionals whose degree of precision is verily defined by their specialization. The ASI is the world's second largest after the United States and the largest organization in the Asia Pacific region, which represents the fraternity of surgeons, embracing 12 specialty surgical disciplines, including rural and armed forces surgeons. Established 42 years ago in 1938, the Association of Surgeons of India conducts its annual conferences at designated locations across the geographical territories of this vast nation, providing a unique platform for its distinguished members to conclave and deliberate on critical issues, on myriad challenges and dynamic evolutions that substrate any cognitive discipline as deeply intellectual, exponentially dynamic, and critical as surgical care. Your President, Dr. Raghuram, worked at world-renowned centers of excellence in the United Kingdom for over a decade and then relocated to India. Ever since, he has been assiduously dedicated to the cause of spreading awareness, innovating protocols, and catalyzing transformation of breast health care in India. In recognition of his signal services, Dr. Raghuram was conferred the Padma Shri, a distinguished civilian award, and the following year in 2016, the Dr. B.C. Roy National Award, the highest award conferred for distinguished service on a medical professional in India. It is therefore appropriate that the distinction of presiding over the ASI has been conferred by his peers on Dr. Raghuram. Your President has appropriately identified creative leadership and accountable governance as a motif for his tenure. Towards achieving that objective, he has pioneered and executed several transformative programs, successfully executing them as well. The ASI, under his stewardship, coordinated the procurement and supply of personal protection equipment to health workers nationwide, navigating enormous challenges posed by the lockdown during March to June this year. This effort was supplemented by raising considerable funds from overseas donors and generous members of your fraternity to alleviate the pandemic crisis. He has also pledged to provide a comprehensive health insurance cover for staff members and their families till 2025. Providing avenues for education and training to surgical trainees is another critical initiative undertaken by your President. Several training courses for surgical trainees were organized in the physical mode initially and is currently pursued in the online format. A national online skills enhancement program, regional refresher courses, and the introduction of the Association of Surgeons of India Lifetime Achievement Award to recognize and honor long and distinguished services rendered by members are among other creative initiatives designed and implemented during the current presidential tenure of ASI. This, the 80th annual conference of the ASI, the ASICON 2020, is unique. It is held amidst the gloom and shadow of the COVID pandemic that has enveloped the globe, affecting millions of lives, overwhelming healthcare in every society, extinguishing human lives on a massive scale, killing the global economic order, and wreaking havoc on livelihoods across the planet. Nations and societies across the globe, the rich and the poor, those at the pinnacle of prosperity and those striving towards that goal, those with a robust Medicare infrastructure and others more modestly endowed, the economic juggernauts and others not so, are alike struggling to cope with this recent fury of a mutant ultra micro species. That is, as has occasionally in the past of human history, showcased the profound insignificance of a self-proclaimed sapient, perhaps the junior most in the evolutionary calendar, habiting the overwhelming complex matrix of a universe defying horizons. This year's conference is thus virtual, dictated so by COVID-19. It is my distinct pleasure to invite the large number of over 5,000 surgeons and surgical trainees from across the world, and my honor to felicitate the 6 distinguished honorary fellows, our guests from overseas outside India, and the 60 surgeons from India who are being conferred the distinction of Fellowship of Association of Surgeons of India, the FAIS, to the ASICON 2020. I wish to speak a few words on the ethical basis of the medical profession, just touching upon the broad contours of this theme. Before we commence the conference, I however place on record our deepest reverence and profound gratitude to the numerous healthcare professionals across the world who are engaged in providing comfort, Medicare, and relief to millions afflicted in this hour of international health crises. Most of your colleagues have lost their lives. Several others suffer consequences of short or long-term pathologies induced by this virus, and several have suffered social ostracism occasioned by the fear of the pandemic. With fortitude and dedication, braving seemingly insuperable odds, and painfully navigating daunting shortages in personnel, protective equipment, and critical infrastructure, several doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals are engaging in discharge of the highest traditions of your craft. This is a scintillating instance of the highest ethical standards pursued by the medical profession, and in the midst of an overwhelming crisis for mankind. With origins in Grecian antiquity, the Hippocratic Oath is among the oldest binding documents in history. Much of its content has become obsolete, subsumed in changes brought about by scientific, technological, social, political, cultural, and economic transformations. We now habit a world of legalized abortion, of physician-assisted suicide, euthanasia, invasive procedures, deeply toxic, chemical, radiological, and nuclear invasive protocols, induced gene mutation, splicing and excision as authorized therapeutics. We inhabit a world of statutorily mandated disclosures of patient information, of explorative and experimental surgical and medical procedures, and a world where human clinical trials of new formulations and vaccines are routine and commonplace. All these would have been heretical and clearly unethical under the Hippocratic Oath metric. Ancient heresies have transmuted as current orthodoxies today. This distinguished assemblage is aware of both the ancient oath and its current variants, nuanced by the Geneva Declaration of 1948, the 2017 revised Declaration of Geneva, and the revised version of the Hippocratic Oath accepted and adopted by the World Medical Association. We are aware of the Helsinki Declaration on Ethical Principles for Medical Research involving human subjects and the Taipei Declaration on Ethical Considerations regarding health databases and biobanks by the World Medical Association. And also, you are aware of several other studies and critical analyses by several professional bodies of physicians across national jurisdictions. Few in your profession truly recognize that current translations of the ancient words have over time become less complete as well as substantially varied from the classical translations of the oath. Current perceptions of the oath do, however, continue to honor the history of medicine and the bond with principles of selfless tradition of healing. Oftentimes, the oath administered and taken with the peers is viewed merely as a process of obtaining the diploma from the medical school rather than a dedicated allegiance to the purpose of medical education and the practice of the healing craft, namely, the best care of each patient by a competent physician. Initially, post-industrial revolution and the transformation of liberal societies from the matrix of a minimalistic to that of a welfare and affirmative state model, medical education and public health were considered among integral obligations of the state. Currently, this model of the state is on the blink. Public and state-funded medical education and healthcare are fast giving way to progressive and accelerating privatization of this domain. World over, we witness an exponential withdrawal of the state from healthcare provision and transfer of this domain to corporate and business entities. In large parts of the developed and developing economies, healthcare is more a trade and a business and less a profession. Medicine, as a noble profession, is increasingly exposed to the solvent of health economics and what is called economic credentialing. The concept of professional devotion or the compassionate physician to the patient is in a substantial measure eroded as the concept of the oath faces challenge and assault from increasing demands and constraints of corporatized Medicare. This phenomenon has led to loss of professional autonomy and the thraldom of the physician to the demands of the balance sheet, of the chief financial officer of the corporate hospital, and to the insurance actuary. There's a constant and growing conflict between the ideal of the physician as the knowledgeable, humanitarian, and idealistic healer, and the corporate employed medical professionals' allegiance to models of profit harvesting. The doctor has now, alas, become another service provider. Financial entities structured on the profit model have entered the domain of healthcare in a big way, competing with each other. Business entities similarly engaged. This change has brought in its wake galloping, accelerating degrees of opacity in healthcare administration, in therapeutic protocols, in billing strategies, financial targets for the physicians, and multidisciplinary complementing monopolies encompassing cognate disciplines such as the pharmaceutical, the diagnostic, hospitality, brand promotional, and other supporting domains. And this has led to several other regressions hitherto associated exclusively with carpet-bagging occupations. Law and medicine are often considered noble professions and learned professions. Of late, however, these are increasingly perceived, and not without some justification, as additions to profit-seeking businesses and as commoditized professions. The hagiographic prefixes of these professions are fast wearing thin. The current regress in ethical mores in several jurisdictions has roots in the growth of privatized medical education. In this reality, commoditization of healthcare commences at the medical school and degenerates into a trade or business in the corporate hospital. The general ecosystem of a symbiotic self and corporate interest synergy in turn influences and corrodes the whole profession. Altruism is reduced to an episodic rather than an institutionalized phenomenon. We as a society need to urgently reflect upon and address this serious ethical regress. Even as we grapple with the ethical challenges posed by the inherited and contemporaneous socio-economic, migratory, cultural, evolutionary, structural, and technological challenges, there arrive epochs in history as do now, when sudden spurts of overwhelming phenomena invade societies. These test the limits of human foresight, design, and planning. Large-scale human human-induced or natural disasters, epidemics, and pandemics illustrate crises that operate as solvents for painstakingly evolved ethical norms of societies and of the professionals therein. The current pandemic poses, in particular, for the physicians and healthcare establishments and workers, critical choices and ethical dilemmas defying easy solutions. How do we, as hospitals and doctors, as administrators of therapeutics and developers of vaccines, as governments or institutions, drop the list of the critically ill who require prophylactic, preemptive, or curative healthcare, and in what order of priority? At this current and critical bend in the history of our species, as the healthcare supply and demand matrix becomes increasingly asymmetric, in the coming months, there are difficult choices to be made. As a responsible, professionally well-informed, and concerned body of experts, you must perhaps deliberate, identify strategies, and offer your advice and guidance in this conclave of surgeons. What should be the ethical parameters guiding choice making in dealing with the seriously ill, with those with non-COVID related yet critical pathologies, and those COVID-induced health concerns? Among these, there are deep ethical choices emerging of prioritizing health access to the needy and the order of precedence, therefore, devising ethically robust, clinically equitable, professionally competent allocation strategies for healthcare during challenges mandating rationing of such access is what this galaxy of surgeons, you, are best equipped to do. Private healthcare providers must revisit current billing norms and profit harvesting protocols, standardize treatment protocols to extend access to critical healthcare for all in need, and customize traditional accounts of medical ethics to fit the enormous challenge now upon us. Your recommendations, predicated on informed deliberations during the course of ASICON 2020, could provide a template for evolution of formal guidelines or statutory prescriptions for adherence and implementation by all who are engaged in healthcare. While on the aspect of medical ethics, I must mention, in passing, a simultaneously facilitative and disruptive technology which impacts many cognitive domains and healthcare as well today. This is artificial intelligence. Applications of AI are increasingly invading and fertilizing clinical practice in many jurisdictions and have become routine in a few as part of clinical practice, particularly in intensive care. Clinicians in intensive health care need to develop a more than nodding understanding and comprehension of the ethics and responsibilities that come with healthcare AI, which is essentially computer algorithms which run complex computations on data using advanced statistical analyses. The algorithms are normally trained on large data sets, which enable more accurate predictions than possible with traditional clinician-centric diagnosis and therapeutics. Programming robust, neutrally harvested ethical norms into the meta data sets so as to ensure fair and equitable AI outputs is a challenge facing many professions and public service deliveries alike. Without due care, historical inequities captured by statistics, programmed into the algorithms, and churning out priorities and protocols for healthcare could perpetuate and even accentuate inequitable and arbitrary access in AI-driven healthcare. Currently, global studies indicate that people are less comfortable and therefore less likely to use medical services when these are known to employ artificial intelligence. Patient trust is still largely dependent on having a clinician remaining in charge of diagnosis and decision making. But this is soon likely to change. And we, all of you, must prepare for that moment of change when digital doctors and robotic surgeons could replace some of you. There are moral implications in integrating healthcare and artificial intelligence. Algorithms derive their power and accuracy from the data they are trained on. And often, training data is derived from individual patients. The use of patient-level data is morally problematic. Healthcare professionals and institutions must take care to use or share de-identified data to generate artificial intelligence. Governments should awake to this emerging technology and evolve statutory frameworks for ethical, privacy protective, and morally grounded standards for collection, preservation, sharing, and use of patient data for creating algorithms in healthcare artificial intelligence. Also, there is a bewildering melange of benefits and pitfalls in integrating emerging technologies with traditional professional protocols. As many of you are well aware, the emergence of super specialties in healthcare, the ASI family is an example in point, comprising diverse specialties in surgery, invite complex choices and a myriad problems for the ill in identifying the appropriate physician suited to the bouquet of symptoms a patient presents. With the emergence of integrated biotechnology and artificial intelligence, and the computational speeds and data analyses faculties currently available, and speeding up even as we speak, the digital dictatorship Yuval Harari observes is already upon us, professionals and laity alike. This phenomenon calls for a multidisciplinary approach to devising contemporaneous ethical protocols for healthcare, built upon the traditions of Hippocrates, but customized to current realities. The day of the physician, the lawyer, the sociologist, the administrator, and the moral philosopher coming together, auditing the present and future of healthcare delivery has perhaps arrived. I have flagged a few concerns, challenges, and opportunities for reflection, revisit, and evolution of ethical norms for the health professional as a lay outsider. At my age, I am a potential consumer of your skills, of the fecundity of your knowledge and the profundity of your experience. As such, I share with humanity at large a personal stake in your progress, individually and collectively, along with society, and hope for the continued luminosity of your professional endeavors. I do not wish to take more of your time, which is better allocated to your profound professional discussions and deliberations. I wish the ASICON 2020 and your deliberation in the days to follow great success. I thank your President, Dr. Raghuram, for giving me this great opportunity to digitally connect with the constellation of several Shushrutas of our time. God bless you all and Godspeed this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Justice Raghuram sir, for your wonderful message covering all the aspects of right from medical school, Hippocratic Oath, and then advanced technologies. I think you have given a wonderful message. In the audience, there are a lot of medical school teachers who would imbibe your thoughts into the residents who are trainees to take up ethical practice and stay ethically. Our President, Dr. Raghuram, has achieved another goal by inviting you as our chief guest for this prestigious ASICON National ASI Conference, where a director of Judicial Academy trains the High Court judges, Supreme Court judges, and it is definitely worthwhile mentioning that we as surgeons have highest regard for judiciary and judiciary luminaries. So in your training, also kindly extend the same empathy towards our fellow surgeons who sometimes unfortunately land in some legal battles. So thank you so much, Raghuram sir, for your wonderful time, and we sincerely appreciate. We appreciate all the delegates, our executive members, our Honorable President, our Honorable Vice President, my dear brother, Honorary Secretary, Dr. Sanjay, President, Vice President for the year 21 and Vice President to come in 22, Dr. Siddesh, and all the members, ladies and gentlemen, a wonderful evening, and thank you all for participating in this. Let us raise for the national anthem now.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you.
Distinguished delegates, I apologize for the 15-minute delay. Sincerely apologize, and let's go ahead.
Thank you so much. So officially the inaugural ceremony is done, and thank you so much for